This is Luke Korns, YouTuber turned travel documentarian, jetting across the globe to uncover the rich tapestry of human experiences. With 2.35 million subscribers on YouTube, 588,000 followers on Instagram, and 607,000 on TikTok, Luke captivates audiences far and wide, skillfully crafting films that illuminate the untold stories of people around the world through his personal lens. After exploring over 70 countries, Luke's quest has led him to unexpected places, including my very own living room. Welcome to Quest and Chill, the podcast where we share the untold stories and epic adventures of the world. Who better to start a podcast about travel and adventure with than Luke Korns?
I mean, there's probably a couple better people, but you got to take who you can get. And here I am in your house.
I mean, for someone like myself who has not garnered as much success on YouTube, you are a perfect person to start this with for a pilot episode. So thank you very much. The concept at the start of this podcast is that I make the ceremonial chai. Didn't have time to print the logo that I just made this week onto the mugs.
Oh, but you put it on the mug. So this is your chai recipe you've been talking about.
Yeah. Cheers.
I love chai.
This is the famous chai. Oh, it's perfect.
Ooh, that's really spiced. I love it. Yeah, that's how I like my chai.
Brilliant.
Yep, you got it. You nailed it.
Okay, good start.
Yeah, that's good. I would call for your recipe. After, yeah.
So I told Luke a story the other day that on two separate occasions, I've dated a girl, two different girls, drifted apart, and both of them 6 months later have hit me up for my chai recipe.
I really like it.
Yeah. Oh God, it's just going to be a chai drinking podcast. We ain't even talked about anything yet.
It's so yummy. Yeah, we should talk about how we met.
I mean, I'm just this random person that no one knows. There we go.
No, you can swear. Swear as much as you'd like.
Oh,
this is your house. This is your couch. Your rules.
So I actually, for audience perspective, 13 years ago, I was super into YouTube and creating loads of vlogs and all sorts of stuff.
Who did you watch then?
I mentioned Shay Carl. Back then, he was quite big. The first person I actually watched was someone called Mimi Molly.
She was a traveler?
No, no. This was OG YouTube.
Well, if we're talking a decade, did you ever watch Fun for Louis Cole?
Yeah.
So he was someone I really admired him, and I still do.
Oh, what's his name? He made a glide cam on
Devin Supertramp.
That's it, Devin Supertramp.
I actually saw his tweet. He tweeted yesterday, literally last night, how he uploaded a classic Devin Supertramp video.
Yeah,
and I didn't see it. But
oh, God.
Yeah, I guess he's trying to simulate his old style.
Anyway, that's a bit about me. I fell off the radar. I just didn't keep up with it, and I regret it even to this day. And my friends remind me of that.
It's
but
okay.
Then you have come into the picture. Thanks to you, I've garnered a lot of motivation to just start all the things that I've had in my mind. So why don't you tell us a bit about how we met?
We met on Couchsurfing, and Couchsurfing is a platform that is, I would go as far as say, it changed my life. Because,
really?
It definitely changed the way I travel.
Yeah.
I got to a point when I was traveling before the pandemic where I would land in, let's say, London. I would stay in a hotel or hostel even at that point. But I'm like, is this it? I need, I'm not getting out. I'm not getting anything from this at all. So Couchsurfing is a platform where you can, it's like a database of local people around the world who are willing to host travelers and people who are visiting travelers. Yeah, you get the real experience of, it's almost like you live in a place. I'm really not explaining this well. Okay, so it's a database of technically probably millions of people.
Yeah, basically it's this app, or it's a website where you go onto it if you want to be hosted, basically surf on someone's couch.
Yeah.
Or if you want to host or even hang out. So it's just like a bunch of people that are like traveling or people that have like that traveler mindset kind of thing. And it's just a way for people to connect on that, on the app basically.
Yeah,
and if you're looking for a place to stay, like you just kind of go on there and, you know, request to different like hosts and stuff. But yeah, like the way I started using it was quite funny actually. My aunt from America told me about it like 8-9 years ago.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, it's really good. Like, you should use it. Back then, I was just like, ah. And also because it's like your elder, like, recommending it. I was like, this is a bit weird. Like, this is, you know, I was a bit unsure. But
well,
then,
on paper, it does sound weird. And everyone I explain this to, especially like people who are not in the travel space, they're like, are you kidding me? Like, especially because you don't pay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not paying you
yeah.
to stay here.
Yeah.
I'm not paying anyone around the world to stay in their house.
Yeah.
And that's a concept that people don't understand unless they are in this space or can put their mind in that space.
Or if you're like on the other side of it, if you're actually the person that's traveling, like there is a distinction that you make in one of your videos about like traveling and vacation, which we'll like talk about a bit later. But yeah, like a lot of people when they go on holiday, it's a vacation. You know, they stay at a hotel, which is great. You know, I'm all about that vibe as well. But sometimes you just want to have like a real experience. And if you're traveling for an extended period of time, obviously you're going to be on a bit of a budget.
Yeah.
Which
I don't like. Yeah. Obviously, that is a technical perk to the whole couch surfing experience, but I never have that be a selling point because I think kind of ruins the genuineness.
Because it's not really about that.
Although that can fuel the experience because I know it can be a little bit daunting or maybe out of people's comfort zone to stay in houses. But if you want to travel, couch surfing is the best way to save money.
So I started using it about 5 years ago. I think the first time I used it was when I was in Thailand or Vietnam. And I was just using the Hangouts feature.
Yeah.
That was like super useful because like the first time I traveled on my own was Thailand. I went back there a second time to do the south of Thailand, and I was on my own. So like I was like, oh, like, you know, how the hell do I like meet up with people and everything? It kind of forced me into a situation where I was like, you know, had to look at couch surfing, and I didn't stay anywhere with couch surfing. I didn't quite trust it at that point. But I used the Hangouts feature, and that was like super useful to like meeting people. So I don't know if like you've used that a lot.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
that's a good way to get your toes wet.
Yeah,
or in the water. It's a weird phrase, but yeah, because it's the same concept, but instead of staying in someone's house, you're just meeting that person in a hangout setting.
Yeah,
which is less intimidating.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's a great resource because I was very scared of it. To be honest, I really was. Up until like...
Had you heard some horror stories or something?
No, it was more the idea of like, okay, so I land in a country that I'm unfamiliar with, and instead of entering the comforts of a hotel where I know I'll be, you know, chill, have my own space, you're entering someone's home, which is wild. And you don't really... At least I don't choose hosts based on the comfortability of their home because I don't even look. I don't see... You know, am I going to be sleeping on a couch? Or am I going to be sleeping in my own room? Am I going to be sharing a room with the host, which has happened in some countries that I've gone to? That's not really the priority. It's more about who am I going to be with, and are we going to get along, and we're going to mutually enjoy this experience of being in each other's company for that time period. But yeah, my first time was in Pakistan, which... I was just like, okay, I'm just going to jump into this.
How long ago was that?
When people started getting vaccinated.
Yeah.
It's like, was that 2 years ago? Or it hasn't even been 2 years?
It's 2023 right now, so...
Oh, so that's 2021, so it hasn't even been 2 years.
2020, like, I think by the end of the year, people getting vaccinated. I don't know, this isn't a COVID podcast, is it?
Well, there's so many things I can say. Like, that was a fever dream, but, you know, it's already been said. Everyone knows. But, yeah, it was around that time. I think it was 2021, so it's been coming up on 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And since then, it's been the backbone of a lot of my recent projects.
Yeah. That's quite funny that you started couch surfing about like 2021.
Yeah.
Because about this time last year, so 2022, I started hosting.
Okay.
So I haven't actually surfed yet, but the intention is being like, you know, I do want to travel again, and I want to obviously maybe try it out and surf. You mentioned how you travel like cheaply.
That's so funny because I know what video you're talking about. Is in the Dominican Republic.
And you had lots of tips. But that was 6 years ago. Like, would you have any tips now?
I thought that I was frugally traveling.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was still spending.
Like still earning 100K. Like, oh, this is easy. Just like spending $1,000 a day is fine.
Well, the thing is even when I was in like the peak of my financial success, I still loved a good bargain, especially with flights.
Yeah.
I would let that guide me throughout the world. Where can I fly for under $300 tomorrow? And I would have that guide.
Good way to start, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's fun to do it that way.
Yeah. Because you don't know where you're going to go.
You don't know where you're going to go. And there are always quite good flight deals for spontaneous trips. So if you let that guide you, if you're open to the spontaneity of it, it can be a lot of fun.
If you're based in the UK, although I think they only do UK, but maybe good to check. There's this thing called Jack's Flight Club, and it's just basically this guy. He just started out just looking for really good flight deals, and then he'd had like an email list that he would just send it out to, and then at some point, like the email list got so big and there were so many people booking flights, he's literally built a whole entire business around it. And so like, you can pay them as well, and you get like the
premium deals.
Yeah, the premium deals like first before everyone else gets them.
Yeah, there was this website I used to utilize a lot called theflightdeal.com.
Yeah.
And it was similar to that. It was they would find these insane flight deals, but it would be like, by the way, this flight is for next week. This flight is for in 2 days.
Yeah.
So it's for spontaneity.
Yeah.
And that's not everyone's cup of tea. That's my cup of tea. It's literally the best cup of chai I've ever had, living like that. I love it so much. But not everyone can do that.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to do that, it's so much fun. It's like, where am I going to... I want to go on a trip. I don't know where I'm going to go, but I want to leave tomorrow.
Yeah. I think everyone fantasizes about that.
Yeah.
I just haven't done it.
It does end up being a little bit more expensive, especially depending on the time of year.
Yeah.
But some places not even.
What other tips do you have for like traveling cheap?
Couch surfing.
Exactly. I mean, did you even mention that in like that video 6 years ago?
No, I didn't couch surf then. I was staying in Airbnbs then.
Yeah.
That was my idea of budget travel.
Yeah.
But my idea of budget travel now is camping on the side of the road, or ending up in a random person's house that you meet at a cafe, which has happened. And it's like, that's the real travel experience. Yeah. And that's what I want.
The less you spend, the more of an experience you're going to have.
Oh, true. If you're willing for that. And I don't think there's a way I can travel more for... depends. Because in Europe, I'm not looking main for that.
Yeah.
In India, for example, like the goal in mind that I had was not how can I do this trip without spending money. That's just ended up what happened. So we were hitchhiking, and you meet someone in a truck and they're so hospitable and they'll invite you to stay the night, and to have access to that person's life like that, some people might be extremely intimidated by that. Yeah. And I was.
Yeah.
It is insane what happens.
Yeah.
And indescribable, provided that it's safe. You have to have that instinct, but for the most part, I think it is. Most people have that good intentions with those things. Just have to be wary about the people who don't. And
yeah. So I think we're similar in the sense of like prefer to travel with someone, right? And I think there's a lot of people out there that want to go and travel, but they're like waiting for someone to do it with. And then the first trip that I did solo to Thailand, like it was an amazing experience. But when you're on your own as well, it's like a little, like, it's all fun and games traveling, right? But there's like, with the extreme joys and like experiences that you have, you also experience kind of lows as well, because at the end of the day you are on your own and you're in a completely alien space.
And
you know, there's going to be difficulties like in finding people to connect with. I mean, we tapped into that talking about the Hangouts thing, but your first trip solo was Hong Kong, right? But
that was a very good introductory solo trip. Yeah. But I stayed in Airbnb. Yeah. I had no contacts there. Yeah. So even that trip, I kind of left thinking, how can I get more out of this? Yeah. Because, you know, you can walk down the street and strike up conversation with someone, but that's not usually naturally how friendships form.
It's just difficult to break that barrier in your head. Difficult. Like, you don't do that in your own hometown.
It's just not usually my method of finding friends. No, exactly. Because I do have social anxiety. Yeah. And I love to social skydive in that sense where it's like, I'm going to talk to that person. I don't care. I'm going to do it now. And, you know, it's 50-50, the reaction. Yeah. Depending on my intentions with it. If I'm curious about their work that they're doing, usually they're, let's talk about it. But if I'm just like, hey, man, how's your day? It's just not usually going to turn out to be anything. Depends on the place, though. I've lived a lot of experiences that I've always dreamed of, and I love it, and I still love it. I haven't gotten tired yet. I don't know how, to be honest.
How can you get tired? You only get tired when it starts becoming repetitive.
You know what? I always feel like people always tell me, oh, you're going to get tired. Or they're like, some people are like, I remember when I moved to Peru, one of my best friends said at the time, she was like, I give it a month because I had a plan to live in Peru for a year. Yeah. And she's like, I give it a month and then you're going to come running back to US. And I'm like, okay. And even now when like I told it all a lot of my friends and even family, like, oh, I'm going to live out of my suitcase. And they're like, okay, have a fun 2 months. I'm like, no, I'm planning on doing this like for like a year. And it's always this idea that people are always trying to limit me in that. And it also makes me feel like to be conventional, I need to have an end date. Mm-hmm. And I always say to myself, when I turn 30, that's going to be when I, you know, stick to a city and build my life in that way. But I'm getting to this point now as I'm 26 and I'm seeing the next 5 years. It could very well be that I want to settle, but to have that set in stone and already kind of manifested or even in my mind that, oh, when I turn 30, I better have a house. I better have this is I'm like, I'm trying to rid myself of all those like, what do they call it? Conditioning. Just like the idea of how we feel like we need to be something or appeal to how people expect us to be. Because
we do live in like a culture where like you are conditioned to think a certain way and to do a certain thing. You know, get a job, get a mortgage.
Exactly. And I see my life, and I've never held myself back by these ideas that society kind of expects us to adhere to. But
it's so easy to see comfort in that ideology because it is like, you know, kind of, I want to say brainwashed, but the idea of all of that is kind of marketed to you in a way to find comfort and, you know, to live your life. And so to kind of break out of that mold and then to do what feels right to you personally, it's quite a bold move, you know. Takes a lot of like kind of guts and confidence to do that, to go to another country and, you know, to explore the rest of the world when you don't see anything about the rest of the world usually. So it's like an alien thought.
Well, that's like a huge piece of conditioning that we're all, you know, force fed since day one about the world and it being this scary place and the polarity of it. Yeah. And I think what I've been focusing on is trying to rid myself of all conditioning. Yeah. And as I approach my later 20s, I'm like, let's figure out a way to completely live within my own terms in my own timeline, because this is my story. This is my journey. And I think a lot of what's helped me a lot is distancing myself from people who put that perspective in me. And that's been hard because I want to be friends with everyone. And I feel like I can, for the most part, get along with a lot of people around the world. But those self-limiting beliefs are detrimental to me, especially when I'm in this flow and I feel good. And then suddenly I have a conversation with someone being like, well, what are you going to do when you turn 30? Have you thought about that? Like, are you going to have a house? Are you going to start a family? And I'm like, I don't know.
I mean, speaking of that, like, but you got into the YouTube game quite young, right?
Well, I started when I was 12, and then my parents found out and they told me I had to delete my account because you have to be 13 to have a YouTube account.
Right.
When I was 12. So I lied about my age.
Okay. So you committed a felony.
I committed a felony. And actually, if YouTube finds out that you're underage, actually, I don't know how it is now, but they used to delete your account.
Do you wanna put that behind you? Are you comfortable?
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna take that. We'll leave that part of the podcast in. I have a sprained back for the last 2 months, and I keep spraining it.
Yeah, I've been nervous about your back. I sit in the weirdest positions in the world. I will sit on a flight like this. This is the benefit of having short legs. I'll literally sit like this sometimes on a flight.
Oh, you know what? That is a good conversation to have. What do you wear when you go on a flight?
I wear these pants a lot.
They like jeans?
No,
though?
it's like simulated jeans.
Oh, okay.
But they're very like loungy,
Yeah.
kind of sweatpant vibe.
You know what? It's probably a better option than what I do.
What do you do?
Well, I wear like tracky trousers,
Okay.
tracksuit bottom kind of trousers. So it's like super comfortable. You can stretch out and do whatever, right? Yeah. When I do travel jobs and like we meet at the airport and everyone's like dressed like appropriately, and I'm like dressed like a hobo, but I'm like super comfortable. And like I've had like moments where they're like, Jesus Christ, Mira, like why are you dressed like that? And then like by the end of the flight and we get to the other side, they're all like kind of stuffy and everything, and I'm like, you dress for the occasion, right?
But if you were, because you do dress well, and you're conscious of that. You do. I used to be so conscious of what city I was flying to. Like if I'm flying to Paris, I'm like, oh, I better not wear this outfit. I better spice it up a bit.
Why? Because like people are quite fashionable in Paris.
Oh, of course, you go to Paris and like you'll stand out if you're not.
Well, really? Okay.
What I notice about European culture, but especially like Paris and even London, is in the US, it's maybe this is just who I surround myself with, but it's quite customary. Like if you're going out to the grocery store for a quick errand, like you're not really caring about what you're wearing.
Right.
You can go out in pajamas for all I care, and that does happen. But you go to Paris, for example, and I don't see that.
Yeah.
People will put on the whole get up for a quick errand.
Oh wow.
And couldn't be me. I mean, I'm just not very in this phase of my life. I'm not. Yeah. Fashion is not something I have the space for in my luggage. So I've learned to be okay with my Uniqlo tees.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, for me, it's like not an option in my life. It's one of the sacrifices that I have had to make to live the lifestyle I do. Yeah. And to me, that's the least of my concerns.
Considering the amount of countries that you've been to, you don't actually have nearly the same amount of videos as the countries that you've been to. So what I'm actually interested in is like, when did you start like traveling quite a lot, or were you quite consistent with the amount that you traveled from a young age?
No, I mean, it was sporadic travel throughout the year. Most of it was for pleasure, I guess. I wasn't even filming it. My problem was I would go on these trips with friends, and I'd be like, I'm going to make this amazing video about it. Yeah. You go with friends, and what ends up happening is, you go to a museum. Yeah. You go to a bar. Yeah. It's like there's no...
Unless you have like a crew like David Dobrik. And then everyone's like up and doing like funny things. Yeah. Funny bits.
Which was not my case.
You had always been like traveling quite a lot then.
Yeah, I had a heavy interest. Yeah. I went to Iceland with some friends in 2015, right when I turned 18. Yeah. Or maybe 19. No, I was about to turn 19. Yeah. Whatever. We went, and absolutely amazing trip for us. Yeah. But to film that, I didn't find a story there. Yeah. So I just abandoned the filming. Right. And that was quite a common occurrence for me whenever I went on trips. Yeah. Like I did this amazing trip to Haiti, which is not really a place people usually have trips to. Yeah. And we went deep into Haiti, like places where you can't even drive. Right. So we would walk all day and stay in this village. And I tried filming that, and there was just no story there. It's like, okay, I'm here, but what's the angle? Yeah. So that was a very common thing, and it was very frustrating. Yeah. Because I wanted so much to be able to show these moments, but the lack of story, at that point, it was just a compilation of nice shots and deep in Haiti. But posting that on my YouTube channel just wasn't really something that made sense.
How long ago did you go to Haiti?
Haiti was 2016.
When did was it earthquake?
It was shortly after the earthquake. the initial earthquake. They've had quite a few, but
Right. So it was even like shortly after that. So
it might have
like
been before.
oh.
No, I think it was after because I remember them talking about it. Yeah.
Even if it was just before or just after, like, you know, a YouTuber mindset would be like, oh, this is perfect. Let's like create a story around this and post it because it will get loads of views. But I mean, I think it's testament to like how you see yourself and like how I see you as well. Like you're more of a filmmaker than a YouTuber. You probably recorded that and then just thought, even though there's a lot of stuff going on in the world about Haiti right now, you just couldn't figure out a story that was kind of true to yourself.
Yeah. And it was also the frustrating reality of spending that 2 weeks in Haiti and, you know, having this beautiful story potentially come to life, posting that and have that perform at a certain level. And then it would be like a truth or dare video I would film for an hour in my room, and that would get, you know, 3 times the views.
Yeah.
It's just what I was creating then.
Right. Okay. Right.
It was, it was just a frustrating situation when I would put so much effort and heart and soul into these projects. And I went through this even years ago, like 4 years ago, when I kind of started to dance around the idea of doing documentaries. And I would spend all this time in a place, like I went to Lebanon.
Right.
Or no, what did I do? Yeah, I did this. My first travel video was maybe in like 2016.
Right.
And I was like, I'm going to post this and I do not care how it performs.
Yeah.
Spent weeks on it and it was my worst performing video.
Yeah.
Kind of expected. But then I was like, am I ever going to be able to do this? Because no one seems to care about my trips, which is fine. But my dream is to be able to have this be my thing.
Yeah.
I want to be able to film my travels and go deep into that and expand as a traveler, go out of my comfort zone more and more and more, and have that be what my whole life is around. Yeah. And here I am today, and that's kind of it. Yeah. But
which is great. Like, you know, to anyone else, like, you just stick to what you want to do. Like, you might not get all the views, even if you have 2 million subscribers on YouTube, you still might not get the views. That's like, but if you keep doing what you want to do.
I don't know if it's a regret, but when I kind of came back to YouTube 2 years ago, when I was like, I'm full on travel documentary vibe, whatever that is. Yeah. The question was like, should I start a new channel?
Right.
All those 2 million subscribers I already had were there for like me being this teenager. Yeah. Or me, whatever, just this high school
teenager that doesn't seem to age.
I'm aging, dude. I notice these wrinkles in my eyes when I smile. I'm like, oh, it's happening. But people still think I'm.
If there was someone behind that camera, they'll like zoom in right now, and then maybe I'll do a post production.
What other things about aging have I noticed? Have you noticed things about aging recently? You mentioned your back.
That's not like Jesus, man. That's just because I sprained it doing like
but you
gym
said that,
stuff.
You said that when you were younger.
Oh, taekwondo.
You could do that.
Yeah, no, yeah. Like I did taekwondo for like 15 years on and off, and then I haven't done it for the last 10 years, but I missed it. So I went back, and I'm in the mindset of me being in my young 20s, jumping around, doing all like the stuff that I used to do, but then like I'm feeling it in my ligaments and my bones now when I try and do anything. And I've like never injured myself when I did it for 15 years on and off. And in the last year, I've injured myself at taekwondo like 3 times now.
Yeah.
God.
Gotta be careful. That's one thing I have noticed too about aging is, especially these last couple of years, it's what I consume, what I put in my body. Yeah. Really, I'll feel it. Yeah. I'll feel drained. Yeah. So I'm quite motivated to, I say this after having McDonald's the other day, but like I'm motivated to, you know, treat my body right because I'm feeling it. And I think it's going to get more prevalent as I age. Yeah. Which, good or bad, I don't know. It's fun to be able to eat whatever, do whatever, drink whatever you want and be fine. But now things are getting heavy. Yeah. Like these hangovers, man. Like, I don't know.
Didn't you say you want to drink less last year as well? It's funny.
I drank less this year for sure.
It's funny. Like, I watched that Q&A video and like literally almost all the things that you said in that Q&A, like, I haven't asked you, but in the last 2 weeks you've mentioned all of them.
I mean, it's quite hard to quantify because I wasn't like logging my drinking days, but I do think I've significantly cut my drinking the last year. Yeah. And that's come with my environments that I've surrounded myself with. Like I used to do full on hostels, and every time you stay in a hostel, like there's a party going on every night. So for me, it was never like an addiction per se. Yeah. Perhaps it is some level of addiction tied to it, but it was like, oh, I don't want to be left out. Night 3 of drinking, let's go.
Probably doesn't help that I have like a full bar kind of thing there.
Well, it's always the environment.
There is a distinction that you like to make with vacation and traveling, right? And it's funny that I saw that because I've also kind of had this distinction in my head. For me, it's more a distinction between vacation and adventure.
Right.
And like the clear difference between the two is like when I do an adventure, I plan out everything. Like I want to travel through the entire country. I do loads of research on the best locations to like film everything because I'm like, probably doing like a kind of a travel video or something like that. I've got about like 3 or 4 from the last like 5-6 years that I just haven't even edited yet. But that's another story. But like that to me is like one of my adventures. And then if it's like a vacation, it's like stay at a nice hotel with friends, partying, have fun kind of thing, right?
Well, that's it. The distinction for me comes down to the comfort level.
Yeah.
And when I'm on, as you mentioned, adventure, comfort is not a priority. In fact, that's not even something I consider.
Right.
I'm willing to put myself in most situations to a certain level. But I'm pretty lenient on my comfort level in those contexts.
Yeah.
If I'm on vacation, I want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
But I will say, for the majority of my life, that's not what I'm seeking, especially in my travels.
You're seeking discomfort.
I am seeking. Oh, there you go. I see the mindset. I'm getting at it now.
Second guessed.
Yes Theory nailed it, man. Their branding, they nailed it. That's the mindset. That's the idea of going throughout the world and experiencing these things. If comfort is a priority, you're going to miss out on all these possibilities. Right. And it's not comfortable to be uncomfortable. Or it's not comfortable to be uncomfortable. Correct. But it's a beautiful surrender that you put yourself through.
Yeah, that's the only branding I've ever bought because the message, seek discomfort, I just really, really love it.
Well, they summarized it. They summarized the feeling that us travelers have when we're not looking to stay at a luxury hotel every time. When you surrender yourself to all the possibilities of where you can end up in a place, the experiences that you will inevitably have are extremely fruitful. You learn so much.
It's interesting you say that because like that is literally like the message in your last video. It's like all about this adventure and the trials and tribulations that this person in this book had going into the Amazon, and then you ultimately kind of realizing that those feelings that that character might have had, you experienced them anyway, like despite it being what's the word,
anticlimactic.
That's it. Despite it being anticlimactic when you stood there in the forest and like, oh, okay, I'm here in Amazon rainforest.
Well, that just comes down to having this idealized version of, I want to be in the jungle. I want to experience that crazy, overwhelming feeling of I am in the jungle right now. I'm surrounded by wild nature and let me surrender myself to this. But, as we know, things never end up as we want. And that's what makes it so exciting. And it's so ironic for me because you see my work and it's so go with the flow. But especially as a storyteller, I kind of have this expectation of, this video is going to be about me being in the jungle and experiencing that survival aspect. When that's not what ended up happening. And I have to be okay with it. And I have been more okay with it recently.
Maybe what you came out of it with is like maybe surrendering yourself with the experiences that you're actually happening in real life in real time.
Because that's the nature of these stories, is how they unfold naturally. And I don't want to be in control of how it unfolds.
When you went from like one family to the school, like that transition of going from there to the other place. I know like naturally from a adventure standpoint and a filmmaking standpoint, it was more of a case of just like in your head probably being like, okay, right, let's carry on this story or like get to the next spot. But on the topic of like being true to kind of the experience that you're feeling, like how were you feeling when you like left the high of like having dinner with that family and then going off on your own to continue your adventure? Like from my experience, when I was traveling on my own, it was quite like the highs and lows were like quite extreme because you might spend 3 days with someone else that's on like the same adventure as you are, and you get really close with them because you spend so much time with them. And then after that 3 days, they're off doing their own thing, and that whole story is ended. And then you're on your own and you start again from square one. And then you find another person that you spend 3 days with. And within like just 1 week, you have like 3 crazy like adventures that you've already had. And it's like, that's a lot for like someone to like, to go from like just a standard week and then maybe a party with your friends on the weekend to doing like, having 3 major bonds with people, spending all that time, but then, separating. And those lows that you experience from all that serotonin that you get from experiencing new things and, meeting someone new, like you get like a massive, like serotonin hangover from that, right?
Yeah.
So like
that happens.
Yeah. So did you experience that like in those moments in that last video?
Not specifically. I think because I was so on my feet, I didn't really have time to process.
Yeah.
But I think when I went to the school, I was really scared and I didn't know I was going to be alone.
Yeah.
So when I found out I was going to be alone, it was, I did have a freak out where I was like, I don't know if I can do this. This is like really out of my comfort zone. And you see it, and it's not like that crazy of this concept. It's just for me personally, like I struggle to have structure like that, especially with kids. I don't really know how to interact with them very well. So that was definitely a dopamine crash because I woke up and I was like, I have to manage this school of kids and I am really overwhelmed and I am committed and I don't even have time to process.
Yeah.
And I guess that was a good thing because I just did it. It was fine and it was quite a disaster, but it worked out.
I'm assuming that you've had that experience though. Like,
it's all the time.
Yeah. How I describe it sometimes to people is it's like, have you ever read the book or watched the film The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe?
Yeah.
It's like when you go on like an adventure or like when you travel, right? It's like you go through that wardrobe and you experience this whole crazy fantasy and you've completely forgotten where you started and everything. But then you discover that wardrobe again, you go back through, and in the book, they're like back to the same age that they were.
Yeah.
And everything's back to like normal. And it's like no time has like moved forward. Yeah. And it's like going through the wardrobe and back, and then you come back to like normal society and you're like, I don't know how to function. Yeah. Like I don't know how to like tell people about this like crazy adventure.
Yeah, I experience that when I go home. I'll go back to my state, even to LA.
Yeah.
And I don't really even talk about my trips.
Yeah.
To be honest. I kind of just come back and then life carries on.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting experience because it meant so much to me personally, but I'm realizing that oftentimes it's not something that I can externalize and have it be reciprocated or taken well. Yeah. People just don't really care.
Because also like when you want to tell a story like that, it's kind of like a sit down thing. It's like, okay, let me tell you about this whole movie kind of thing. Like, and you can't expect someone to like sit there and be like, I didn't really like tune into this movie right now.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. I mean, that's why I try to show it in my work. But you won't really find me coming back from a trip and sitting down and having an hour discussion of what happened.
Yeah.
Unless something crazy happened, but usually it's just...
Yeah. You might tell like little stories that you can fit into like a little box.
Yeah.
But no, you're totally right. I have recorded a lot of travel vlogs, but I have never edited any of them. But I think there was like a moment where, because I like to talk a lot and I'll tell a lot of stories and stuff. The people that I'm telling the stories to are not necessarily reciprocating what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like there was a point where I was just like, like it's just easier to be like, just watch this video. Like compartmentalize. What's the word?
Yeah, that's it.
Compartmentalize.
You got it. You nailed it.
Sound right? Okay. Yeah, into like a 10-minute thing, or although then again, chatting for 10 minutes is quite long as well.
Well, I've never been the guy to be like, I just went to Brazil. Look at all these photos and like show them my album and like discuss it. And it's just like not the way
I'm happy to do that with like close friends. A friend of mine, Tom, he did a job out in Tokyo. And so we did have a moment of like, let me put that laptop and show the photos. Well, I swear, like whenever my dad does that, like when we have family guests over, I'm just like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, we don't want to sit through a slideshow.
Oh, it's so cute though. I'll just take it. I'll be like, all right.
Look at this photo of this like horribly out of focus tree that I took. It's like, oh my God.
I had an experience in Brazil actually where the woman in one part of the film, it's like me eating with this woman and she tells me about her son who then ends up taking me to the jungle. But we had one night where she talked about a trip she did to Germany, which is so random that she went to Germany just in the jungle. But she opened up about her trip and she spent an hour and a half showing me photo after photo very slowly about this zoo that she went to in Germany. She showed me every animal and then she explained in Portuguese, which I don't understand. But I loved it because she was like, I could tell that she lit up when I asked her this question about her trip because she just loves that trip that she took to Germany. This woman in the depths of the Amazon.
That is so funny.
But it was lovely. It was a really good time. But I was like, all right, this has been going on for about an hour now.
Yeah. It's like sometimes you just want to kind of go along with it if they're like kind of like this cute old woman that's just excited.
It's all about their energy.
Yeah.
If I can tell they're passionate about it, you know, I'm there for hours. I'll just sit back, provided I don't have anything to do, but I didn't. So I just let her go. And I just nodded my head, not understanding 90% of what she said. Yeah. But she showed me picture after picture, elephant after elephant. Loved it.
Yeah. Look at this elephant.
Well, again, I have no idea what she said, but she just kept going on about these elephants. And I'm like, I wonder what she's saying.
Like, did the children translate or anything? Like,
no, it was just me and her.
And she just talking Portuguese the entire time.
Portuguese the entire time. And I understand a little bit because of Spanish.
Speak Spanish, yeah.
But I didn't know what she was talking about. But oftentimes it's the energy, you know? I felt that she was excited and I could see the photos, the visual
Did your like mind trail off in that moment of like, this would be a really funny bit?
Sort of. I was like, I would have loved to film it because it's just so wholesome and cute. And I love it. I love when people can open up like that. Yeah. Especially people that you don't really know. So, wholesome moment.
Just a reference for everyone else, because I understand that probably most of my friends wouldn't even understand what a bit means.
Oh, yeah.
A bit is basically like a sketch or like a thing to film or something, like, you know, that almost funny. In your head it's kind of like a planned script. Like, like, oh, this will be a funny bit, and then you record it.
Love little bits.
There was one little moment in one of your videos that I laughed, actually. I can't remember. Oh yeah, I think you went to Idaho and you're trying to find like the funny part like of the whole video is just you being excited to find something fun to do, and then you found like a body of water. It's like, oh, should I go in it? Should I go in it? This whole anxiety of like, I don't know, there's kids about, or blah 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 blah. Like, I don't really know if I want to even swim in there. And then you walk into it and you just like stood there and like, cool. Yeah. That was just like a funny.
Well, that's often
that
the
was
case.
A funny bit.
That's often the case. Is the build up is anticipation is way more of a experience than the experience.
You did a video titled "I threw a dart at a map and flew where it landed." I was just going to say that it was a cop-out, that it was just a map of the US.
Oh.
And you didn't even reference the fact that, oh yeah, it's just a map of the US.
Oh, I don't think I got any comments about that.
Really?
Not that I remember.
Do you have like a fully US audience?
No, it's quite international.
Are you going to do that video again? That is my question. With a world map?
I would do that again.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
I think that's a concept that everyone like could get behind. I think everyone has thought in their head at one point, like, let's just throw a dart.
Well, okay, so there's this area that I'm in now that I don't know how to navigate, where it's like I am acknowledging this privilege I have with my passport situation.
Right.
And I know a lot of my audience, that's something that they dream of, having that opportunity to be able to spontaneously go to all these countries. So much like a concept like throwing a dart at a map and just going wherever the dart lands is such a flex of my passport privilege. That's almost like a concept I don't even want to do.
What is the passport? What is that situation?
No, I'm just saying, like, because I'm a US citizen.
Oh, fine, right.
Yeah, or because you're a UK citizen.
Oh, okay, fine.
The doors that open.
It's not like a special thingy.
No,
it's just the privileges of being US or UK. Yeah. Although after Brexit, it's
that's made your situation a little more difficult. Yeah. But as a UK citizen, like, as compared to someone from Bangladesh, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
A traveler in Bangladesh who dreams of being able to go to these places without jumping through the hoops of visa situations and even being allowed access to a place. Yeah. Whereas us, majority of the world opens their doors for us. And spontaneity is such a big factor and driving force through my work, but it also, I have to acknowledge that privilege.
Yeah,
because
of course,
so much of the world doesn't have that.
Because like a lot of your videos are about, like human experiences and relatability, right? And the idea of maybe like throwing a dart on a world map is a fantasy to some people.
Yeah.
But
well, that's the thing, because obviously it's a fantasy and obviously
Yeah.
it's a fun video, but right now I don't know how to navigate this because...
But I think that you could look at it in the perspective of like, at the end of the day, a lot of people watch entertainment because it's a fantasy, right?
Yeah.
It's something that they won't experience. And so they're getting that experience through the actual lens,
Yeah.
And so like on an entertainment perspective, it's okay. If you're still honest with about like the human experience of it, then it works out, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree. It's more so, just the stories I've heard from friends and people that I've traveled with from places with weak passports, and how they just dream. And, they spend so much money. Like Amar from Yes Theory, I don't know if you followed this, but he was finally able to purchase a passport. Because he's from Egypt, and that's not a very powerful passport. And the amount of doors that opens for a traveler. But to take a simple trip anywhere to the world, and how you need to have months planned out. And I promote this idea of being spontaneous, but at the same time, I have to be conscious of the fact that that is a privilege that I have. And navigating that through my work, promoting this idea of spontaneity, but also not disregarding the majority of the world that doesn't have that possibility.
That's a hard thing to navigate.
It is a hard thing to navigate. And that's why the whole dart thing, I'm just like, I can do, and I don't think it's morally wrong, but it just doesn't seem like a tone I want to throw out there.
I think from an audience's perspective, anyone that is kind of in that position, like, probably respect the fact that you're saying that. But like from my dumb position, I'm just like, I don't think it's something that you have to worry about sometimes, because it's just this, it's the story that you're telling, really. Because let's say you are going to a country that is a country that they'll find it hard to travel out of, right? You're still kind of, glamorizing isn't the right word, but you're still kind of, creating experience in that country that even some people within that country might not have done. Like, I know from my perspective, and I don't know whether this could be because I have a passport and I have the privilege of, like, traveling wherever I want to. Like, I sometimes just forget about traveling up to Scotland or Wales and locally, right? For the longest time, I didn't go to the Lake District, like one of the like most beautiful locations in the UK, and I look for those kinds of locations in other countries. And I only finally did a trip up there when I was for my 29th birthday, and I enjoyed it so much I did it again for my 30th. And so, like, I don't know whether that's because the privilege of knowing I can go anywhere else, or whether that's just because you just don't think locally and you always dream like internationally. But if you are in a country where you struggle to kind of be able to travel a lot of places, like, there could be people in like Pakistan, for example, that have not been to the spots that it was Pakistan that you went to, right? I don't want to get that right.
You got it.
There could be people in that country that haven't even been to the spots that you went to, because maybe they just never thought to like research that. Because I know when I go to a new country and do the adventure thing, like I said before, I meticulously research every good spot to like shoot and everything. And I've spoken to locals or something when I go to those countries, and even they're like, oh wow, oh you went there, I'm like, I've not been there. And even when people come travel here, they're like, oh, I've been here and here in the UK. I'm like, oh, I haven't actually been there yet. So, when you look at it in that perspective, it's like, okay, maybe I am doing a service.
This aspect about life itself that I've been really conscious about is just perspective, and where we are born into this world and what that means. And to get that right in my work is something I'm still navigating for sure, because obviously I was born in the US. I was born with these set amount of privileges and opportunities right off the bat that people probably don't have the ease to achieve like I do. So
So you're trying to get that right before.
I just want to get it right because
you might accidentally slip up and then you get cancelled.
Well, it's not even the fear of getting canceled. It's more just like I want to be able to be a positive storyteller.
Yeah.
For people who want to travel.
Yeah. You want to aspire to that. Like at the end of the day, like with everything creatively, like you never reach perfection.
Yeah.
But to aspire to that, like,
and that's my goal. Because at a certain point, it's not about me. It's about interconnecting or connecting cultures together. And that's my priority right now.
Hope you enjoyed the chai.
I did.
Yeah.
Yes. Some of the best ever.
Are you going to hit me up in 6 months and be like,
I'm going to set an alarm in my phone 6 months on the day.
I haven't spoken to you in a while. But what was that try? Yeah. So firstly, like, I want to thank you, like you going to LA and everything and all that, and like you know all the friends that you've probably made from that are all probably like very similar in terms of like the creative space, right? Like being filmmakers or being YouTubers or like content creators kind of thing. I've never been surrounded by those people. Mm-hmm. Like I have great friends, but none of them have that drive that I have to kind of do all the things that you're basically doing. Like I said, I started this stuff 10 years ago, and then slowly over the last like 5-6 years, kind of just lost kind of motivation down, that path of like traveling and, trying to do all this kind of stuff. And so like having you here and the conversations that we've had, like has really like motivated me in like a new way that I've needed in, that I've really needed in the last like 6 years. So yeah, I just want to like thank you for that. Like
it was already in there for you. You just needed like a little reminder.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Like even this podcast like idea came up with the whole idea. Like, I always have these visions and ideas for things. I did that last year, like in my head. And then in this week doing like 2 or 3 other contracts, like I've pulled it all together to get it done, and like that drive to get it done, like I wouldn't have been able to kind of push myself unless I had that goal, and that goal was the fact that I might as well take advantage of the fact that you're here. Like this is like kind of like a blessing in disguise kind of thing. Like you pop in, and now it's just like, wow, okay, I've got this opportunity like to kind of create something with someone that's so like-minded, so yeah, let's like, I mean, thank you for that. Like,
nothing to thank. Great. I'm just here living my life. I'm really grateful that you opened up your doors for me to stay. I've really enjoyed our conversations we've had.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we both had
a
mutual beneficial experience.
I'm really happy it's been like a little bit 2 ways as well. Like, I've been able to like assist you as well in things and teach you a few things here and there, like with the color grading, with the post-production side. The thing that you said before about like sometimes people get bogged up in the technicalities rather than like the storytelling. And it's like, I like the storytelling, but like that hit my soul because I'm like, I get bogged up in the technicalities. Like, I mean, it's okay. This is a pilot episode for a podcast, and look what I've bloody set up. Like you look at other podcasts that are like really successful, and it's like, oh, it's just 2 guys with a microphone. It's like, if that's all it should be about. But I'm like, oh, but everything has to be like perfect.
It's all right. It's all right. That's just how it is. I mean, I get excited about it too, but when it really comes down to it, it's the meat of this whole thing is the conversation. And it doesn't need to be anything. Yeah. It could be us with 2 phones. And so
I got you a little gift.
Uh-oh.
You had mentioned in the last 2 weeks about like your path and everything, and like, honing your craft, and you're in a stage right now of like trying to figure yourself out, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm like, right? What did you give me?
Yeah, I'll just give it to you. Okay, you can open it up.
Ah, cool.
So it's a little compass necklace.
It's a little compass necklace.
Because obviously you love to travel, but also around the edge, read what it says around the edge.
Your guide through life. Aww.
So that could be like,
this is amazing.
A little reminder to remind yourself of who you are and what you want to do.
I love that. This is great. Thanks, dude. I'm going to wear this.
Cool, man.
And it'll match my black shirt.
Yeah. I don't want to say. Well, I actually have the same thing.
Hey, we'll be matching.
I bought mine like a year and a half ago.
This would be like our matching tattoo moment. No, I love this.
Yeah.
This is great. This is a good reminder.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally like when I bought mine, like, you know, it was like the mindset of like, you know what, I used to travel, you know, I used to love this stuff. Like, I need to remind myself of it. And I didn't know it even said that around the side. And then when I got it, I was like, oh, right, okay, cool. And,
yeah, it's a physical reminder of what it signifies. I'll hit you up for your chai recipe.
Yeah.
And it'll rekindle the friendship.
Awesome. Glad you liked the gift.
Yes.
And tune in for the second episode of Quest and Chill.
Congratulations on the launch of your podcast. I'm so honored to be the first guest you ever had.
Cool. I'm honored to have you, man. If there's no jingle at the end with a motion graphic, it's probably because I didn't have time to do it. So it's just going to cut to black.